The Alberta Invasive Species Council, I'm the Executive Director of the Alberta Invasive Species Council, and I'm just going to talk to you a little bit today about some of the things that we're doing or are working on right now. So just a definition of an invasive species. Invasive alien species are those harmful aliens, the species whose introduction or spread threatens the environment, the economy, society, including human health. And that's out of the Invasive Alien Species Strategy for Canada that was published in 2004. So that's the definition. We're not worried about stinkweed and weeds that, annual weeds that occur out there. What we're worried about is invasive species, whether they be plants, animals, fish, whatever, and the damage that they can cause that is really a concern to us and everybody once you understand what it is. So I was reading this week, recently, an article, and I know this isn't exactly an example of fescue grassland. This is a different example, but I think this example hits home because I think until people kind of, and I mean people meaning the public in general, or people in general, until they feel the impact from an invasive species, they don't really get it. You guys all get it, I know that, but the general public who is often responsible for causing our invasive problems don't get it until it impacts them. And this was something I read this week, and I thought I would just share it with you just very briefly. It's a study done in Washington State, in a county just near Seattle, King County, and they were looking at one particular invasive species, Eurasian water milfoil, which is an aquatic species, forms a very dense mat, which obviously impacts fishing and recreation. So you can see where if you had a lake infested with that, it probably wouldn't be all that great if you owned lakeshore property on that lake. And so in that county, they have lakes that are both infested and those that are completely clean. So they compared 17 lakes that were infested with 24 that weren't. And they came up with this number that there was, in the infested lakes, there was a 19% decline in the value of the lakefront property, and that amounted to $94,000. Obviously this is fairly high-priced real estate as well, but you can see it had a significant impact. And I think it's when you get stuff like that, when you get examples like that, that's what motivates people to do things differently. And although most of your work and people here are going to talk about plants and restoration and all the good work that's done, that can all be screwed up or made difficult by invasive plants. And people are the ones who spread invasive plants. Yes, there are some other vectors, but by and large, people are the major source. So that's where we spend a lot of our time. So who are we? We're a not-for-profit. We were formed in 2006. We changed our name. We used to be the Invasive Plant Council, and now we're the Invasive Species Council. We have a very diverse, dynamic board. Two of our board members are here in the audience, Ross Dahl and Oscar Anderson. So we have a very dynamic board who guides my activities and tries to keep me on the straight and narrow. The board, in looking at, invasive species in Alberta, came up with a vision, prevention-inspired, Alberta protected. And I think that kind of says it all, or encompasses what they were thinking, and that is that we focus our activities more at a prevention level, but the idea is to protect what our natural resources out there, which is what you folks work on very directly. And our mission is to provide leadership on invasive species management in whatever areas that may be. So this is the business goals that our board has come up with. Zebra and quagga mussels present a real danger to this province, economic as well as environmental. So we really want to make sure that they don't get established. So that's one of the goals. These are in no particular order, by the way. We want to prevent prohibited noxious plants based on the Alberta Weed Control Act from establishing and spreading in Alberta. We want to explore control options for some segments, aquatic, semi-aquatic species, and for prohibited noxious plants. There are some opportunities there. We want to promote the reduction of regulated invasive species, particularly plants, and we want to respond to emerging invasive species issues, and we want to increase the profile of AISC. I'm not sure we're going to be a household name, but we definitely want to be better well known than we are. So the next thing I want to talk about is just as a source of information. One of the things we're trying to do is become a source of information on invasive species in Alberta, sort of a one-stop shop where you can come to our website and find out all kinds of information. That's obviously going to be a work in progress because that information grows as time goes on. So the website is an important source of information. Our newsletter, which we publish several times a year electronically. If you haven't been getting it, I encourage you to sign up. Go to the website and there's a sign up right there. And if you're into the social media, we're in Twitter and Facebook as well, and try to post a lot of new information that's coming along. It's a good way to sort of keep on track of what things are going on. One of the biggest things we have is we have it's 85 fact sheets on our website now. We don't have them printed. We only offer them in electronic format, but they can be downloaded or printed off the website. And so all the 75 invasive plants that are on the Alberta Weed Control regulation, both prohibited noxious and noxious, we have fact sheets on all of them. We also have fact sheets on plants that are under consideration for addition to the Weed Control Act. And so there's things like dog strangling vine, the swallowworts, Queen Anne's lace. There's some other fact sheets on there of species that are under consideration, and I'm just finalizing all the hawkweeds. There's going to be eventually there's going to be 11 hawkweeds on the Alberta Weed Control list, and so I'm finalizing the fact sheets there as well. So trying to provide lots of good information. So if you're looking for information, a quick source is to go to the website. The Invader Ranger, it's an activity book to help children in grades 4 to 6 learn about invasive species versus native plants. It tries to build that understanding between those two. So if you're interested in those kind of activity books, they're used in schools, and I know that at least one organization has used them to hand out at like a campground or an activity center, just as something for kids to work on. And we did sponsor some work in 2013, following up on some historical historical releases of biocontrol for yellow toad flax. And I have copies of the report that's also on our website as well, just what they found out there. So people are a big problem when it comes to spreading invasive species, and gardeners has been one of the target audiences that we've identified. And so we've had a Weedwise gardening brochure out there, and we're now changing it over to a more positive grow me instead message, talking about trying to get people to change their behavior and grow the better plants rather than some of the things like yellow clematis. And often, I was at a show last week, and often it's like, oh, those are pretty plants, I really like them, and we just try and encourage them to rip those out or choose different plants. So we're collaborating with the industry on that, and we've got that is in development right now. So hopefully those will be available in the next 2 or 3 months. So the other thing I'm working on right now is the Alberta Spotters Network, and that is to try and get more eyes on the ground identifying new invaders. And so the focus is going to be initially on plants, and initially you can probably describe it as the prohibited noxious species. or ones of concern that are being looked at for addition or that we're concerned about coming to Alberta. So we're gonna develop this program. It's in we're in the development stages right now. It's gonna recruit people to identify and report sightings of new invaders, and we're gonna kind of do it as a sort of a changing behavior type of thing. Lots of us see new invasive species, new invasive plants. We see them, and sometimes we'll tell somebody about it, sometimes we won't. And with this kind of program, we're hoping to use some tools like iPads or iPhones and Android devices, so use apps to be able to record those in the field and report them. And then they'll be mapped on a map that'll be available on our website, and those sightings will be passed on also to regulatory agencies, weed inspectors, whoever's can take action on them. So that's in the development right now. I'm applying for funding. I'm always seeking funding partners on projects like this, so if you know of any funding partners, I'd appreciate hearing about that. And this is another one that I've just started working on very recently. It's Play Clean Go, and it was developed by the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, and they're making it available as widely as possible and building a whole network of partners who will take this message and use it in their areas and their jurisdictions. And so AISC has signed on, and we're now developing a program to bring this to areas, to bring those materials here and sort of develop some outreach so we can talk to ATV folks and hikers and things like that about, you know, clean their boots, clean their equipment when they're going into areas, so that they don't be the spread of, they aren't the person that spreads invasive species. So I've been working a lot with ESRD, Megan and I have been talking about this, and so I'm going to put a funding application in here shortly. So anybody who, again, I'm always looking for partners. We're not for profit. We don't have a steady stream of income, so any funding or any programs we do are funded by either grants or people or donating money to our cause. So we're really excited about this. I know that there are other partners out in Canada that are developing the Play Clean Go program, but it's definitely going to help us, I think, keep invasive species from getting more widespread. So I always have to do a little commercial. We have our second annual conference will be March 12th in Lacombe, and we'll have a wide diversity of speakers for sure. And so I encourage you to block that date on your calendar and to try and take it in if you can. We seem to get quite a wide variety of people there, and everybody there is interested in invasive species of some way, shape, or form, and so it's a good spot to get some information and to make some connections. And this is really new. We're just starting. We've had one meeting. We got another one planned in a couple weeks. There's going to be an invasive plant workshop developed for Southwest Alberta. It's going to be in late June of 2015, and there's a bunch of collaborators I've listed on the phone, on the slide. Hopefully I got everybody that are collaborating to make this a reality. So this will be focused on invasive plants in Southwest Alberta, which means it's really local. So stay tuned for that one as well. And so with that, that's the end of my presentation, and I'll leave it to Barry to see if there's any time for questions, and if not, I have a booth at the back and you can come and talk to me. I'll be here all day.